I'm Steven. That's Lloyd. That's the boss, Patrick. That's Erock and Tiffany. We are from Just Got Played, and we are gaming through themes. So what does that mean? Well, we had a series where we talked about mechanisms, which are the ways you interact with a game. In this series, we're talking about the theme of a game, which is basically the subject. You know, when you're playing the game, what does the subject matter? The cards, the actions that you do, the art, whatever it is might evoke the theme for you. So today, our theme is outer space. Now, because theme is more of a subjective than an objective thing to a lot of people, you know, whether it really evokes the theme for you, I don't usually try to define what a theme is. I let people sort of decide it for themselves. However, because we're going to be making more videos about sort of space type things, I decided to break it up a little bit. So I asked people for this one, outer space is more about something where you're in space or traveling through space. So for an example, a game like Terraforming Mars, where you're basically just on the planet the whole time, and that's about the planet of Mars more than it is about outer space. So you're not going to see probably a game like that on this list. And, you know, as we do these videos about themes, I mentioned that it's very subjective. What really evokes the theme for you? So for instance, I have games that I really like The Crew, The Quest for Planet 9. That is a game I really like. It is technically an outer space game. Does it evoke the theme for me? Not at all. The theme is so paper thin on that. It is like that onion skin paper that people used to use for tracing, right? I mean, it is so thin that when they made the version 1.2 of the game that was slightly improved, they just switched the theme and made it Deep Sea from outer space, right? So, which by the way, I recommend Mission Deep Sea instead of whatever Planet, not Quest for Planet 9. So, anyway, that's my little bit of my rant on what themes are. But again, we're talking about outer space. We're going to tell you our top 2 games, our 2 favorite outer space themed games, and we'll tell you what the people's choices were from our poll. So let's get started, and let's start with Patrick. What is your favorite outer space themed game? Hefe?
I feel like that anybody that's been watching any of my videos, my favorite, the videos that I'm in, which I very rarely am anymore, but the videos that I'm in, my very favorite games, Burke's Gambit comes up quite a bit. Now, we had a discussion a little bit before this about how it may not really invoke the idea of space travel or really something to do with space. I feel like the movie Alien, right, is you're trapped on a ship and you're alone in space and there's a threat and you can't seek immediate help. And for me, that defines the vacuum of space. And this social deduction game, Burke's Gambit, is absolutely fantastic. And it really does pronounce that for me. So my first one, not my favorite, this is my second favorite, but my first one's going to be Burke's Gambit.
Yeah, I mean, that game really should have an Alien or Aliens license on it. Sort of weird because Alien was the people trapped on the ship, but Aliens is where Burke comes from, right? Yeah. He's trying to smuggle home this alien inside the belly of somebody. Well, that's his goal anyway. And that's basically what you're trying to do in this game, right? You're either trying to shove the person out of the airlock that has that in their belly,
one or the other, right?
Or get it home. Yeah. And it's just a quick social deduction game.
It could have a social disease theme, but they chose to go space instead.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a space guy, right? I made a game that was completely themeless and pasted a space theme on it. So, I can speak to that. It's fine.
I think it's awesome, Burke's Gambit. I think it's great. It's probably my favorite social deduction game now. With maybe taking out, what's the Hong Kong, blah, blah.
Deception, murder in Hong Kong.
Yes. That's awesome, though. I don't know if I'd actually call it social deduction. It's more of really just deduction. Social deduction, I think Burke's Gambit is probably my favorite. It's a great game.
I would play Burke's Gambit over Deception, Murder in Hong Kong any day. Just
well,
I would.
Yeah, Burke's Gambit's probably my most played game because it ends up as a filler while we wait for people, and we play it every single time we have a game day, at least 3 times. So
you probably got significant meta going on at this point.
Yeah. There's certain people that get shot at the beginning, no matter what. They just shoot him. He's definitely a red team.
That's me. I get any of these types of social deduction games. They just shoot him.
Yeah.
All right, Lloyd. Well, so you seem to like Burke's Gambit a lot, but is that your number one choice?
No, because as we kind of discussed, that would fill more into like an alien themed game, which I am differentiating from an outer space themed game. So my actual, I guess one of my top picks for outer space themed game is In a Galaxy Far, Far Away, which is Star Wars Outer Rim. In Star Wars Outer Rim, you are playing an iconic character, or maybe not so iconic character from the movies or from the comics or the books. So you're playing either like a bounty hunter or a smuggler of some sort. You start with a base class ship and you fly throughout the Outer Rim, which is represented by like an arc playboard that has a bunch of planets and little nav points, and you're flying through space, going from planet to planet to complete jobs, upgrade your ship, buy new ships, get crew, get weapons, and there's a little bit of player interaction there where you can go after each other's crew if you have a bounty for them. So yeah, that's kind of my top pick. It's awesome because it's got a solo mode, and now it's got a solo versus 2 AI opponents with the expansion. The only thing that's missing, which I assume they're holding out for an extra expansion, would be throwing the Mandalorian in there. I don't know why. That's just a license to print money at this point, but they did not include it in the expansion. Even though they did put a bunch of other random guys in there, they chose to not have probably the most popular character in the Star Wars canon right now, at least in the past, I don't know, 8 to 10 years. Besides Baby Grogu, but I mean it's all from the same. That's the most popular property anyway. So that's my probably my top pick is Star Wars Outer Rim.
Cool. You know, Star Wars Outer Rim did pretty well in the People's Choice poll, as well as like Firefly the game or something, which I've heard is very similar, but has obviously the Firefly theme on it. I haven't played either game, but anybody else played any of those?
Neither of those, no. But we have Zaya, so it's kind of the same game.
Yeah.
You know,
I've played a half game of
may be
Firefly.
mentioned here soon. We shall see.
Well, every time I mention that I really like Merchants and Marauders, people are like, "Oh, have you tried Outer Rim? Have you tried Firefly? Have you tried Zaya?" I'm like, "Arr, no, I haven't." But maybe someday. Maybe someday.
You can be a space pirate. That's fine.
All right, Tiffany, what is your number one choice?
Well, it was kind of spoiled a little bit. Thanks, Erock. My number one choice is Zaya. So I love a good sandbox where, you know, the world is your oyster and you can really go any direction, do anything, and find your own little path to hopefully victory or happiness, you know, either way. And so I really enjoy Zaya. For me, it evokes the theme the most of all of the games that I've played, because you are traveling around space, going to different asteroids or like, you know, doing different things, collecting resources here or killing a thing over there, or, you know, transporting this over here, or going from point A to point B. And so that's your whole job, is to navigate space and, finish missions as, you know, they're assigned to you. So I think Zaya is one of my favorite ways to kill 6 hours, 4 hours. And I would have to go for space theme. Zaya is my number one.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, I'm not surprised somebody mentioned Zaya, and I'm not surprised it was you either.
Was that on the poll? I didn't see. Was it on the poll?
It was so low. It was underrepresented. I voted for it because I was like, you deserve some support.
Hey, get out there and vote, people. And you can add games to the poll too. In fact, that's the only reason I actually use Facebook polls. It's the only polling system I found where people can add choices to the polls. Like all the other ones out there, you just have to, you know, give them choices and let people vote. So if anybody knows of a better polling system, let me know. Hit me up in the comments here on YouTube.
I feel like it's just a crowded segment because, like we discussed, like Zaya, Outer Rim, Firefly, they're all kind of the same thing. You know, so if you're voting for one of them, you're kind of voting for all three of them, kind of, even though that you didn't really know that you were doing that. And I'll tell you what, this is just me talking about Zaya and, jumping on Babe's bandwagon here. I love Firefly. I love Star Wars. I have never played either of those games because Zaya is awesome. So I never felt the need to go away from Zaya and find something else. So I'm on your bandwagon, Babe.
But
Thanks,
apparently
babe.
not too far on your bandwagon because I'm guessing it's not your number one.
Oh, is it my turn?
It is.
Excellent. Well, so I'm going to cheat, as I am well known to do, because my number one and my number two have been or will be mentioned. I promise. So I'm going to go with my number three as my number one. And my number three as my number one is Twilight Imperium 4th edition. I love Twilight Imperium.
That was my number two.
I win by using my three as my one. I have defeated you, sir.
What a great game.
Great game. Yes. It's so awesome. It is the definition of an epic game. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are these other games out there like, what is it? Battle for North Africa or something that could last 6 months, whatever. That's ridiculous on the grand scheme of things. This is the epic game experience. This is it, man. There is nothing like getting 6 people to sit around and fight over the galaxy for the next 6 hours, probably more. It's fantastic. It gives you, it puts all these goals out there one at a time. So you don't get to see everything that you're going to score points off of. You just see one thing this turn. And then the second turn, you see another thing. So you kind of get an idea of what's going on. But I promise you, it's about your technology. It's about conquering planets. And that's basically about it. Like all of the goals are about all that stuff also, or maybe some exploration. But you get to 10 points, you win this game. Game is over. It will take a long time. Everybody's a completely unique race. A lot of the things are the same. The ships are a lot samey, except that, this race is better at this race is better at that kind of a thing. The technologies kind of veer off a little bit. Everybody works off of like 80% the same tech tree, but then they have their little specialties that go off of that. So it is asymmetrical, though mostly symmetrical, but it just ends up being 6, 8, 12 hours of awesome, raucous, fun, laughing and yelling. And when somebody loses, you're either on their side or against their side. It's just big galactic war. And it's fantastic. I love this game. It's in my top whatever. And it's just one of those games. If I get to play it once this year, I'll probably be lucky. But it's still way up there, man. It's awesome.
You made it sound so easy, but the real challenge is getting it to the table.
Yeah.
Yes.
It is. But then you have it, then you play it, and you're like, wow, what a great... It's the kind of game that it gives you stories. It gives you memories. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can play a lot of games, and you're like, oh, yeah, I remember playing that game. But if somebody says, have you played Twilight Imperium? It's not like, yeah, I think I've played that. You're like, oh, my God, yes. The last time my neighbor had the War Sons, and he came right down my throat, and I had to do everything I possibly could to defend myself. Like, it just inspires those kinds of stories. I absolutely love it.
You should say earmuffs next time.
Yeah,
I
how
was
many
not
times does he
expecting
get to say that?
Yeah, jeez. Patrick's blushing.
And it's really rich with flavor. Like it is an entire book that gives you the background and flavor of all these characters and stories and political commentary. It's fantastic. It really is delicious.
It's delicious. Yes.
Yeah, I was a little surprised that none of the Twilight Imperiums or Eclipse or whatever did particularly well in the People's Choice Poll. So, but again, maybe that's just getting it to the table, right? Yeah. People have played.
It's a convention game for us.
Yeah, a lot of these other
games.
games.
I think people need to be exposed to it more. I'd like to expose more people to it.
We're
Patrick
talking
is
about the
all
game, right?
about exposing. Yeah.
Maybe.
Right.
That was my number two. So
yeah,
we're right to like.
Haven't even gotten to either of my picks yet, and Patrick's already done here.
All right, thanks for coming. We'll see you
Thanks
next
for
time.
showing up.
All right. Well, I sort of went a different direction with my number one than what you all are doing, because mine is like campy sci-fi, right? Campy outer space. And you would think a worker placement game would just be a dry Euro or something, but this one has got a whole solar system, and there's planets and asteroids that you visit with your little workers that are ships, and you're trying to throw these little Trobils into the sun to score points, right? So and the aforementioned space pirates make an appearance here, right? And it's all just goofy, right? Trobils, which are just tribbles, obviously, are just goofy, right? And you can be flying around you can have a fleet of TARDISes that you're flying around in, right? If you have the expansions, but essentially you're collecting resources and you're trying to get points. But the one unique thing about this game, one of the reasons that I really like it, and I did mention that it's a worker placement game, but it's a worker placement game with bumping. So in this game, if you at the beginning of your turn you don't have any of your workers available, you waste a turn essentially pulling back your ships. So it behooves you to stick your ship somewhere that somebody else wants to go. It doesn't block them from the space. They go to that space and they bump your ship back to you. So now you have your ship available to use in your turn. So that's part of the strategy there. One of the cool things I like about this game is you get to upgrade your ship. So you have this, I think it's a hexagon, or is it an octagon? Can't remember.
Yeah, I think hex is right.
Yeah, I think it's a hexagon, right? And then, so that's all the different 6 locations that you can visit on the map. And you can get these upgrades for your ship, and you just put those upgrades along each side of the ship. And now when you visit that location, you get extra resources. So you can build this kind of engine up, right? Like I can go here and get this stuff, and go here and I get this stuff. And those 2 locations are sort of your money-making combo or whatever. But then other people will know that's sort of your combo, which is when they sneak in and they get to that location. So you bump them and you're helping them out when you bump them. And so, there's a lot of strategy going on. It is, like I said, worker placement with bumping. But I feel like the theme is really here, right? There's all those pirate cards. There's all the goofy art and all the ships. And flying around this solar system, throwing Trobils into the sun, man. I have a good time doing it. And it's a pretty quick game. And you could even use it as an introductory game to worker placement, because with the bumping, it's not so brutal as some worker placement games are for people, who have never seen the mechanism. That can be a difficult thing to get, to figure out. But anyway, so my number 1, Asking for Trobils.
Great game.
Such a great game. Love that game.
Yeah, I have like all the stuff for it, but in this giant ugly box. But
yeah,
unless you hate the color orange. If you hate the color orange, do not play this game.
Yeah, right.
We have ours. It's the box. I don't know if all of the boxes look like this, but our box, it looks like a mouth, like it's orange, and then it's a mouth on the side of the box.
That was the Kickstarter big box to hold everything. Okay. Yeah, that was a special thing. Yeah.
That's what I love the way that it looks on the end of our shelves, because it's like just this monster mouth that's being held back by wood, but just trying to reach out and bite you.
Yeah, nice. All right, cool. Well, let's move on to everybody else's number 2 other than Patrick. Starting with Tiffany.
So, okay, I apologize because I will admit that this game does not really evoke a feeling of space for me, but it does have space in the title, and there are spaceships in it. In fact, every time we play this game, it means that Eric is teaching it. And every time he teaches this game, he takes a moment to show everybody learning in the rules booklet that there are pages just dedicated to spaceship names, like pages, multiple pages of this handbook is just list out. It's just a whole list of every name of every spaceship they used in that game.
And nothing else. Not what they do or anything, too. Just the names.
Yeah, just the names. And so the game, if you haven't memorized the rule book of this game yet, then you're not really sure what I'm talking about. It's space-based. So yes, it doesn't really have much of the theme in the gameplay. I don't really feel like I'm doing any of the things that it says on the cards. But every time we play this game, I'm reminded that there are pages in the rule book about every spaceship and station that's in the game. So for me, I can't forget that it's a space game. But also, it's just one of my favorite games ever because I love rolling dice and I love having something to do on every turn. And it's space-based. And I've talked about it a million times. So just go look at every other time I've ever talked about it.
and there's a Shy Pluto expansion. That right there, right? That should do it right there, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
It's a good game. And I think, Tiffany, when you taught it to me, well, when Erock taught it to me and you were there, it definitely had the flavor of space because everything is a spaceship. Everything involves you modifying a spaceship. So, I mean, it's in your face whether or not other people want to consider it space. I'm behind you.
Thank you.
Well, I did mention that this is a subjective. Space Base is one of those games that I also really love, but and I like it better probably than as a game than my number 2 choice. I definitely do, but thematically it didn't evoke enough for me. So, but anyway, Lloyd, what is your number 2? Have you decided yet?
Yeah, I have, but basically, a couple of my other games are going to get talked about at some point, but I'm not going to bow out like someone else did. So I have a runner-up here that will get talked about. And as I was sitting here thinking, there was a movie that was like Jumanji, but they were in space. And
yes.
What was the name of that?
Zarathustra.
Zathura.
Zathura. That's
Yes.
what it is.
That's not my pick, but it just came to me. I was like, there was a game and it was a co-op and you were trying to, and it was that. And that was space themed, but we're not going to go with that one because I don't remember anything about it. I played it with my kids when they were younger. And they're in their 20s now. So that's a while ago. But my runner up that I just looked at on my shelves and trying to figure it out because I wasn't sure what I was going to pick is one that I got recently that was on sale on Amazon for like $5. It is from the, what is it? Renegade Game Studios, their Solo Hero series. So it's a solo only game. It's called Warp's Edge. And this is a bag builder roguelike in the form of a board game. It kind of feels like almost like Galaga or like an old school 8-bit video, like a Galaga, I guess. Basically, you take a ship. Each ship has its own little stats, and they all come with their own little power-ups. And so the bag building part of it is you take those power-ups that are specific to that ship, and you basically put them out, and it's got this little funky tray that holds everything. And as you perform actions by pulling stuff out of the bag, you can use those to like kill bad guys, and the bad guys will reward you with more tokens, and you get to kind of choose what you want to take to fill out the bag so that you can get more turns. And you're basically trying to get through X amount of rounds against the kind of the minions, and then there's a big boss at the end. And I've only played it a couple times. So I think there's like maybe 3 or 4 bosses, but they're kind of like just like old school video games, like R-Type or whatever. The regular guys are just little cards, and you put out a row, and then the boss is like 3 or 4 cards big, and it'll be like a giant robot, and it's just you get rid of all the minions, and then this big robot comes out, and you're trying to defeat it, and all the bosses have kind of their own little mini games that you're doing to defeat them using your card or your little tokens that you're getting out of the bag. It's a roguelike in the sense that your bag only has so many tokens to start with. And those are your actions on the turn, and you can bank some or you can discard some to get other things to put back into the bag. But essentially, once you get through the bag, that's basically the end of the round. And the story of the game is you're flying through space and you have some kind of like warp engines, kind of like the end of Galaxy Quest where they hit the button and they can go back like 13 seconds. It's kind of like that. You go as far as you can, and then when you reach the end, your turn resets, except now you've leveled up. Everything that you did carries over into the next round, and the deck resets, and you kind of know what's coming. And then you try to get through that deck based on the limited knowledge that you got from the previous. So every time you're going to get a few more cards that you didn't see, and then you're trying to win within a certain amount of rounds. So that is my runner-up game. It's a solo game. It's got a pretty small footprint. And like I said, it was like $5 on Amazon on sale. So why not? They got an expansion for it too, but I haven't even got through the core game yet. I've only played it a handful of times.
I'm just thinking about the movie Galaxy Quest now. This is brought it up. I mean, that's a great movie.
Yeah, I went a couple different movies there and video games. Yeah, I got lots of stuff to look at. Lots of nostalgia there.
$5. It should be best in class, maybe.
Best games under $5.
$5.
It's not $5 now. It was on some like super sale. I think you sent it to me because I will buy pretty much anything that's less than $5, Steven.
It sounds like a coordinated plan. Like they knew that we were going to do this video, so they targeted you for this to get the
If you have a board game collecting problem, do not talk to me because I'm always like, hey, there's a deal on this going on. Hey, I saw that for $20 at the flea market.
I don't have that big of a problem. No, I don't have Kickstarters on the way and I'm still buying more. No problems.
No,
I think he's talking about us, babe.
Nobody who watches this channel would do that either. Nah, I mean,
Right.
Yeah. Just play the games that are on your shelves. What?
That's funny.
All right, but Warp's Edge, thus spoke Zarathustra. I mean Lloyd. All right, Erock, what is your number 2?
Number 5.
So
What is your number?
I was
17?
about to say,
sorry.
Once I got like 4 or 5 games deep into my list, it started to get hard making these decisions. So, so my second, which is my 4th choice overall, is a game called Soul: Last Days of a Star. Quite frankly, it's been quite a while since I actually played this game, but I've been gearing up to teach it so that we could get it back on the table. So I've been watching a bunch of videos and I read the rules and all that. And it really just reminded me how awesome this game is. It's kind of hard to explain because it is rather unique, really, as far as what you're doing here. So the general concept is that the sun is dying. So there are a bunch of different factions, corporations, basically trying to harness the energy of the sun so that you can get the heck out of there, right? So you're competing with these other people at the table to do that and be the one that escapes it before it blows up or whatever. All right. But it's really cool the way this thing comes together. All right. You might be able to knock me about thematic because it's really just all around a sun. But, suns are in space. So anyway, so the sun has these different layers to it. Like there's the core, then there's a layer outside, then a layer outside that, and then a layer outside that, and then like a layer outside that as well. All right. And when the game starts, you have like your mothership and it's on like the outside ring, give or take. And there's no way to get to the sun. You have to build the gates through these different layers and the machines and whatnot. They'll actually gather the energy and produce more of your ships and things like that as you go in there. When you start, the game is like basically completely blank. Everybody lays out like one thing, which isn't much in this kind of a game. And then you like collaboratively build this game together, because if I build a gate down, you can use my gate. It really doesn't cost you anything. It costs a tiny, tiny little bit, but it's way more important to be able to go through my stuff, use my buildings to produce things and all of this. So it's almost a collaborative effort on the board itself while being a completely competitive game. And it's really cool. It's incredibly streamlined. In this game, you can either move, you can build, or you can run your machines. All right. That's it. That's the whole turn. And then the next person goes. I think a lot of games kind of over convolute themselves. The mistake in this game would have been giving you like, all right, you have 3 actions. Your choices are you can move, you can build, you have one action. It's one of these 3 things. You do it and you're done. And it makes the game flow really well. There's kind of a built-in timer because as you explore, you flip over cards, and every once in a while there's like a coronal ejection. So Lloyd got mad and left. He was like, I've had enough.
He had his own coronal ejection. Coronally ejected
That's
Lloyd.
a coronal ejection, and it got rid of him.
He went to go get a Corona. That was his Corona.
That's awesome. All right. So as I was saying, Lloyd, so every once in a while you can flip over a card. It's like a coronal ejection. It's a certain point. Once the last one of those comes up, game's over. Whoever's in the lead wins, because they made it out of there, kind of a thing. But it's just a really, really cool idea. The way that you cooperate and collaborate as far as building things and then use each other's things really reminds me kind of like a Brass Birmingham, where it is this shared game space and it's all about doing things the best that you can within the organization that we all have built to somehow get ahead of everybody else. And I didn't even mention it, but one of my favorite parts of this is as the game goes on, your mothership that's kind of your turn is you do your stuff and then your mothership moves to space. You do your stuff and then the mothership moves to space. So like if I build a gate here where I'm at, in 3 turns, I'm nowhere near that gate, but you are because you kind of rotated around. Now you're in that position. So that just even more facilitates the point that you use whatever's there. And when you build something, it's for whoever wants to use it. And it's just a really cool way of thinking about playing a game that I really enjoy when I play this game. And I think it's definitely unique and something that you should try out at some point. I'm not saying everybody rush out and go buy one. It's not for everybody. Nothing's for everybody. But if any of this interests you, please, because it's really, really cool. Patrick, I believe you agree with me.
I do. In fact, if you'd like to see more on Soul, Just Got Played reviewed it. We were the very first reviewers to do a review on the game. So it's fantastic. I do believe it's out of print. And I do believe if you're trying to find it out of print, it's like your right hand and $1 million.
Well, some of that has changed recently.
Okay.
Not to put you in your place or anything, but
no, that's good news. That's
right, they just ran the second Kickstarter for this. Now the Kickstarter is over, but it was highly successful. So I'm sure once those start filtering out into the mainstream, they're going to be available again. But so you're absolutely right, because I got ours on the second market and it was not cheap. But
yeah.
So technically, I think we can talk about right that it is still out of print, even though they just finished the Kickstarter for it. But I'm done. Soul.
All right.
Last Days of a Star.
All right. Cool. Well, so I think I'm last for the crew picks before we get to the people's picks. I know you could just look at the chapters and skip me. It's okay. Go ahead and listen to the people's picks. No. Okay. So I will say that my second pick is actually even more thematically outer space than my first pick. And there were 2 games I was debating out here because they are both about flying your ship through outer space. And so the one that I didn't pick is Space Cadets Dice Duel because I can't get 7 to 9 people to play it with me. I eventually gave it away. I just couldn't get that many people. You really need the max players to make that game sing. So the game that I'm picking instead is the one that is still in my collection that I absolutely love is Galaxy Trucker. And
no,
Galaxy
sir.
Trucker.
Take it back. No, sir.
Oh, yes. You can't handle your real-time chaos. I know. You want to spend an hour thinking about every move. It's fine. No, no, but that is the chaos of this game comes in 2 parts. One is that you build your ship in real time. You're just flipping over these tiles. Where can I fit this? I need a gun pointing this way. Boy, I need some shields. Well, I better grab some cargo, otherwise I won't score anything. And crap, I forgot to get crew. If I don't have crew, wait, I need batteries to power my shields, And so you're just, you pick something up and you're like, does this fit? It doesn't fit. You just throw it back face up on the table and you grab another tile. And if you're not having that kind of fun, like what I'm talking about when you're playing, then you shouldn't be playing this game, right? If you're like, let me see, excuse me, sir, do you have a battery over there? Then no, you're not playing it right. Okay. But if you build your ship like that in chaos, right? And then everybody's done building their ship, now it's chaos amplified because now you try to fly your ship from point A to point B, and there's just going to be random crap. There's going to be, I don't know, pirates or boarding your ship, or there's going to be asteroids smacking, your shields or your guns, and parts of your ship are going to fall off. And there's even an award when you get to the end for who has the prettiest ship that didn't get damaged the most, with the least number of external connections visible or something, right? And the funny thing is, it's a game and you play it and you have fun, but for the most part, when we play it, nobody really cares what the score was, right? They just wanted to build their ridiculous ship and fly it and have ridiculous things happen to it. And that's just a fun experience. It almost is like a party game in that regard, except it does have a lot of rules.
I was going to say, it's a lot like a party game.
Yeah. And you have to play it like that, right? Like, sure, I'm trying to construct my ship to do well. Sure, it's a puzzle that I'm trying to construct, but it's, I'm not taking it very seriously, and I don't care when it falls.
Ironically, Stephen, I've never played a game with you where I didn't think that you were full on trying to win.
Yeah, that's the big brain thing going on here.
Yeah.
No, I mean, most of the time when you sit down to play a game, we've reviewed a lot of strategy games and things like that. And, if you're not trying to win, if you're not really playing the game the way it was designed to be played, you're almost doing the other players a disservice, right? They want to have the game experience that the game designer, made. And usually that experience is somebody strategically trying to win the game, right? If your opponents aren't trying to win the game, that can actually screw you up in weird ways.
So you're trying to beat us all for us, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
But partially, yes, but not in a game like this, right? Not a Galaxy Jungle, right? I'm just playing for the chaos of it. But if we were playing Space Cadet Dice Duel, absolutely, I'm trying to ram a torpedo up your butt. Because that's how you play that game, right?
Indeed.
I don't play any games where things go on my butt.
So we've covered almost every orifice at this point.
I think so. Yeah.
You guys are playing the orifice bingo at home. You can go ahead and check off.
Oh, orifice bingo!
Why is it when Patrick shows up, everything just drops down a level?
I'm sure this doesn't happen.
A level? It only went down one level?
You're welcome. All right. Well, let's move on to the people's picks, shall we? All right. So in the people's choice poll, there was one, which was a game that was far and away the number one. And then it was just so close between three others. I'm just going to mention all three of those. But let's go first to the number one, far and away, people's choice, outer space themed game. Tiffany is vindicated. It is Space Base.
Yes. I am not the only person that thinks this is a great space game.
Voice of the people, babe. Good job.
That's right. The people have spoken. Space Base is numero uno.
People are wrong.
That's what matters. Yeah. So Space, like we've talked about it a million times. I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time talking about it, but I will tell you it's a dice roller where you are building up currency and you are purchasing these cards that go in the slots. You have slots 1 through 12 in front of you, and you are purchasing cards to either go in the front that gets activated on your turn, or if it's one of the not so recent cards you've purchased, it'll go in the back. And those are the cards that are activated on everyone else's turns. It's a little like Machikoro, is it? Where it's like everybody gets to do something on everyone's turn. So you're always doing something. But it's a great fun game, and the person that at 40 first triggers the end of the game, and then the person with the most points, obviously, at the end of the game wins. Could be anybody's game. It's never you never know. Just because you're the first person to 40 doesn't mean you're going to be the winner of this game.
And there is a card that is just you win.
You win
in the game. You could just win that way.
Yep. Load up that card and then you just win the game. No questions asked. So it's a lot of fun. Try it out. People have spoken. Best space game ever of all time.
But you missed the thematic explanation of how it worked. It's you're docking the ships at your space station. That's the ones you activate in your turn, and you're deploying them out into space. Those are the ones on other people's turns.
How does the UN card fit into that theme exactly? What? You win? What?
I don't know. Galactic Overlord? I don't know.
You just said it just says you win.
Well, I mean, you have to trigger it. It's not easy to win, but you just win.
It's very hard or lucky. You either worked very hard to get there or you lucked into it.
Well, everything's lucky in this game. I mean, to a certain extent, right? I mean, it's just dice. But
yeah, I hear you. I'm just saying, like, you could do all kinds of like those shift maneuvers where you like switch the card from this section to that. Like, you could work at it and actually make that work. Or you just happen to roll 12 3 times.
I've never seen somebody get lucky and win with that card. I've seen somebody strategically manipulate.
I agree
with that card. So that's all right though. All right, so that was number one, far and away. Everything else that we're about to talk about is tied for second. So in no particular order, but I'm starting with this one because I want to hear Patrick's sweet voice some more. Patrick, tell us about Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica. So this game has actually been reskinned and done several times. It's been done 3 times, but my favorite rendition is BSG, based on the Battlestar Galactica TV series. There are Cylons, and there's plenty of toaster jokes if you're familiar with Battlestar Galactica, the TV series, the second TV series. And a few of you are Confederates, and you're trying to destroy the ship and your Cylons, and the rest of you are trying to essentially patch holes in your ship and fight off the Cylons as they come in. And you've got all these directives that you're trying to, if you're a good guy, all these directives that you're trying to do and make it look like you're accomplishing goals, or actually accomplish goals. And the bad guys are trying to make it look like they're accomplishing goals, but maybe they're not. And the one thing I probably don't like about this, and this is going to be the warning I give you, is you possibly could switch allegiances during the course of the game. So you could be working really hard towards a goal and being all friends with everybody, and then you have to screw all of your very close friends over. I find that pill hard to swallow. But other than that, this is a fantastic game. I have it on my shelf. I absolutely love it.
That's only in like a very unique player count, right? It's like if it's even numbers, there's the possibility of that. So you can
but
you can get it.
Us when we play, Lloyd.
Oh,
you just gotta play with odd people. That's all.
I thought that was in every game.
5 of them.
I think the fact that somebody joins as a Cylon later is awesome. I wouldn't want to play any other way.
And it is very thematic because
I was going to say that too. It's not space thematic, but it's incredibly BSG thematic that halfway through the game you might be like, oh damn, I'm a Cylon. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really accurate. Yeah.
But there are no planets involved. All through the series.
Yeah, sure. And if you have an expansion,
you're trying to get to the planet.
If you have the Pegasus, is it expansion? There's even a second ship, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I think there's up to
I'm not saying the game's not space thematic. I'm just saying that one thing about turning into a Cylon, it has nothing to do with space. But as far as the property, the intellectual property goes, it's spot on, man. Yeah. It's perfect.
Yeah. Eric, where else you can find Cylons except for in space?
In your living room.
They're not in Georgia.
Maybe your wife's a Cylon.
If they're in Georgia, we're already in trouble, man.
They got enough problems.
It would explain a lot, though, says the guy from Florida.
Who's next?
Right. Well, so actually, Battlestar Galactica was recently when we did the sort of aggregated top 25 list that we did back in December. Battlestar Galactica came out number 1 in that. Right. So that was pretty impressive. So that is a game that has got some staying power. It's been around for a while and it's not going to be reprinted anytime soon, probably because the Cthulhu Unfathomable version is out. But anyway, BSG, solid game. But what I want to hear about now is some more Star Wars. And so, Lloyd, I'm going to throw it back over to you to talk about Star Wars some more with Star Wars Rebellion.
Oh, okay, good. Because I had never played Star Wars some more, so I'm glad we chose Rebellion instead.
Star Wars s'mores in the toaster strudel aisle.
My favorite. I could get behind some Star Wars.
Misa likes some toaster pastry.
No.
Is there an expansion with him in there? I don't know. So in Star Wars Rebellion, this is essentially a 2-player game. There's a 4-player version, but it's stupid. It's not 4-player. Just play it with 2. And if you have 2 friends, tell them to go home. You're going to play it the right way. So in Star Wars, in Star Wars Rebellion, one player is playing, or team, if you're playing it 2-on-2, is the Rebellion, and the other team is playing the Empire. And this is basically a giant game of cat and mouse. The Rebellion will secretly choose a planet to make their base, and they are trying to stay hidden from the Empire, who have overwhelming numbers of units, and they are just trying to find them by sending probes and ships and scouts and everything to all these different planets and trying to suss them out. And the Rebellion essentially needs to survive to a certain turn. And if they can make it to a specific turn, I haven't played with the expansion, so I don't know if that changes anything. But if they can make it to a specific, basically if they can outlast the Empire, they win. And you get throughout the game, you're gonna get new ships. You're gonna kind of get new heroes and people to that activate different powers and allow you to do different things. But it basically comes down to if you're the Empire, you're trying to read the other person and figure out where you think they are, and try not to fall for any of their gambits. And if you are the rebellion, you are trying to not give them any tells by looking at your planet ever. Never look at one part of the board for too long, and try to trick them into going to the other side of the map so you can buy yourself some time. There is a spot. I don't know if it's a specific card, but there is at some point during the game you can move your base. That is an option, but I believe it is a very specific card that you have to get that allows you to do it. Erock can correct me if I'm wrong on that. It's been a while.
I've always seen it come up, so I can't remember if it's a.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much standard, but it's also like you got to be in trouble to do that. Like you got to basically uproot everything you're doing, and it's bad news. It's like your last. I'm in trouble. I got to move.
Yeah.
At this point, but
so that is essentially the game in a nutshell. One player is got the overwhelming force to try and track down the rebellion. So it basically follows along the movie. You know, they're scrappy. They're trying to stay hidden and not be found out because they can't survive a direct confrontation. Although there is a lot of dice rolling when there are battles, and it does come to kind of like a risk. You can end up having overwhelming numbers and just have really bad rolls. When I played, I held off like an invasion of like 20 ships with like 3 by the time we were done, just because I kept rolling really well and I had some good cards that were allowing me to swing the battles in my favor, and I wiped out most of the fleet and he wasn't anywhere near my planet.
Hey, no need to brag about how many midichlorians you have.
Yeah, I got all the midichlorians. So that's Star Wars Rebellion. I have not played with the expansion, but it just adds more stuff to kind of follow along to the movie. You are kind of playing like a weird offshoot of the movie. It's trying to follow the plot, but a lot of things change and happen out of order. But it's trying to follow the beats of the original Star Wars.
A lot of that's because of the characters, because you don't get all the characters. You only get some of the characters per game, so that you only get to do some of the missions. And it's not like it's all chronological. It's just kind of like what they did at times. So it's kind of mashed up like that.
Yeah. I mean,
this is just a side note to all this. This is actually a board game remake of a computer game that I loved. And it was basically the same thing. It was 2 people on different computers, and one was, the Empire and one was the Rebellion. And it's exactly this. Like, you send out your ships and you try to win these little fights, but one of them's running and one of them's sticking them down. It was awesome. I loved it. I love this. It's great.
Nice. Good pick, people.
Yes, people.
All right. And so for the people's final pick is an oldie, but a goodie. Definitely outer space themed. So the people definitely got it right there. And it is Cosmic Encounter, which is from like 1977 or so, I think. But most people now, when they play it or think about it, think of the Fantasy Flight version, which is 2008, maybe. I can't remember exactly, but a lot more recent. But anyway, I'm going to throw it over to Erock to tell us a little more about Cosmic Encounter.
This is another great choice, people. This wasn't in my top 4 or 5, but it wasn't that far off. It is an older game, so this feels different than other games you're going to play. Which is kind of my shtick. I really like unique things. I have 8,000 games between Babe and I. We have a whole house chock full of games. What I really like is I can point to something and say, all right, I like this because it's unique because it does this. And like Cosmic is one of those games because it's the biggest chaotic argument fight that you'll ever have playing again. That's the game, basically. So in a nutshell, like everybody is their own species, and you control like 5 planets are in your realm of control. And the whole point of the game is to get on other people's planets. All right. And the person who gets to, 5, who gets to be on 5 planets first, they win the game. All right. But that's everything going on in this game. And then underneath that, up here level is all of the chaos and the backstabbing and the fighting and the yelling and the screaming and the laughing and the having fun. Because what actually happens is you make deals and you break deals, and then you make deals and look like an idiot. And then you make deals, and then you just kind of like neutral out of the fight in the first place. And then nobody trusts you anymore. And before you know it, now you're not trusting somebody because they didn't trust you, kind of a thing. I mean, this game is all about working together to win by yourself. So in a nutshell, on anybody's particular turn, the game tells you who you're going to attack. All right. First of all, that's brilliant because it takes all of the like ownership of that out of your hands. So Bob can't be all like, you're always attacking me. I'm sorry, man. That's what the card said. So I'm going to attack you because that's what the card said I'm going to do. So, so it kind of takes a lot of that hard feelings out of the game in which that's just full of destruction, because you can't really be bitter about somebody attacking you. That's what the card said they were going to do. You pulled my card, you're attacking me. Way it goes. And then basically at that point, both sides get to ask whoever else is at the table, however many of those people or not that they want to, if they want to help attack with them or defend with them. And then after all of that negotiation and talking for that is done, then you have the fight. And that's sometimes when the real fun starts, because there's also these cards that are actually going to influence the fight. Normally, if it might be like me and Lloyd and Babe and Patrick all against Steven. And we might have, say, 20 ships between us that we're throwing in, and he's got 2. That's awesome. That means we're starting out at a 20-2 advantage. But if Steven has a card that says 40 on it, we lost. And if, unless I have one that'll take our number up above that. Now that he's at 42 with his number, with our 20, I need at least a 22, or we all lost. Or we could just be like, how about we make a deal here? And if we have the right card for that, then we just make a deal by ourselves and screw everybody else that was in here with us in the first place. Or maybe I'm just going to leave, which kind of screws everybody else up too. So this whole game is everybody yelling and screaming and having fun and trying to jump on everybody else's bandwagon. It is entirely possible to win this game with multiple people, because that's just the way it works out sometimes. Because I'm telling you right now, unless you have one of the ridiculously overpowered aliens that just dominates an entire game, you cannot win this game yourself. You have to have other people attack planets with you. You have to be able to use their powers and things like that. So generally speaking, by the time it gets down to the victory, it means that there were a couple of people on the last battle that finally made a deal that put them over the top, and the other side didn't have the 8 different cards that would have been needed to somehow counter this whole thing, because it's been going on so long and we already used all those cards, and here we are. Congratulations, you won. And that is Cosmic Encounter.
Yeah, see, I feel like this is in sort of parallel what I was talking about with Galaxy Tricker. You have to play this almost like a party game. I have seen a group try to play this like it was a game of diplomacy, and that was awful. Right? I mean, you just gotta roll with the ridiculousness of the whole thing, right? So anyway, I don't know. I mean, I've played this, I think every version of this they've ever made, although it's been a long time since I have played it. Maybe I haven't played it since I saw that really awful version of the game where people were playing it like diplomacy. I think I probably don't have the right group to play this game with, to be honest, except for the people who are surrounding me right now on my screen. When are we going to get together and play Cosmic Encounter? Huh? I think Neutral would send us different expansions. Thanks, I'm sure.
I have an idea. When we could play Dice Tower East.
Hey, are we all going to be at Dice Tower East? Nah, Lloyd's. I'll be the kid. John will be there. JJ might be.
I will be there. Eric Little will be there, and
getting the band back together.
Yeah, and Brian will be there as well.
Brian? Brian?
Wow! It's like a Beatles reunion up in here.
Yeah. I wasn't convinced Brian was still alive.
No, he's fine. Yeah. Yeah, it's like a Beatles convention, but older and heavier.
Less musical.
Yeah, far less musical. No, we got Eric can play like 9 different instruments.
We'll have to play them all.
Yeah, exactly.
I can sing if you prod me hard enough.
Oh,
nice.
I'll prod hard enough. You don't worry about that.
Back to the torpedoes, are we?
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, I'm Steven. That's Tiffany. That's Patrick. And we've got Erock and Lloyd. We are from Just Got Played. This is our Gaming Through Theme series. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Consider subscribing. If you want to talk to us about stuff, you can leave a comment down below in the YouTube video, or if look in the description of the video. You can see all of the social media platforms where we have a presence, or you can come to the Discord and chat with us. We're all in there. We'll talk to you. Even if you're mean to us, we'll talk to you. It's okay. You know,
some of us like it.
Tell us what outer space games you like and why we're stupid for not choosing your favorites. I'm sure we wouldn't have anything to say about that when you do that. But all right. Well, I don't know what we're coming back with for the next theme video, but stay tuned. And thanks for watching.
Bye, y'all. See you next time.
Have a great time.